to upload into my drafts for Go High Level, but I don't know if the capabilities are even there to do that. So
So
anyway,
you wanted to upload into your drafts of what? The drafts of the social media content?
exactly. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
even
it's totally doable.
because I've been fighting with it for like 2 or 3 hours and I can't figure it out. And like the whole idea is I have a Google sheet. And I didn't want to take over the call, Mario, if you had another
No,
plan.
take your time. There,
Okay.
well, yeah, the whole point of this is just open Q&A. So,
No, this was awesome because I was gonna message you last night after like trying to fix it for like 3 hours, and I was like, you know what? We have office hours. It's perfect. I'll just catch them in. Like, kind of got a lot going on here. I'm not the what's the word? I'm not a pro user of N8N, so I've used it a little bit, but like the whole idea is that for like my whole AI like trust brand and everything, I go under Chelsea AI Insider, so this has been my brand name, and I have a website kind of showcase my project and just I do a lot of local education as well. But anyway, I created it to where I can put like an input here. And then from here, it triggers my workflow. And then ideally, I want all of like my captions and everything for all my social channels to be here as well. I'm not really worried about document or image generation because to me, that's a challenge with AI and like putting it exactly where I want on a graphic. So what I'm trying to do is just get it to go into Go High Level where in Go High Level, I can see it under my drafts and I just have to literally go finish the image, upload it, and then I already have like the social details and stuff there. It's like that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know if it's possible. And I kind of got a lot going on here.
do you already have the like the author IDs and all that stuff that you've pulled?
Yeah, okay, so that's the other thing. Even so I actually was this is a version 2 because I was literally using Manus to like because it's pretty complex as far as like the different things that go within here. Like some of it's like 400 lines of code because I want specific prompts based on the channel or the content type I'm doing. So like it's becoming a beast. But I guess to answer your question, I don't know the proper way to configure. I'm pretty sure this is it. Like I know I'm not supposed to show this, but I can always change it. Like to do it this way, this is kind of what it pulled from documentation, which is social media posting, but I don't know if this is even correct because I can never get this to execute right. So like, is
So
this the way you set it up?
scroll down to this and hit the bottom right corner. And yeah, you're gonna have to burn your API key, but
Yeah, I will.
um,
I will.
go ahead and hit the bottom right corner of the like that little out symbol. No,
No, this.
down. No,
This? No? Oh crap. Okay.
to the
Okay,
right.
this.
Yeah.
Ah,
Um, so you have
and it might not
your
be a good one to show you because this is like my version 2 where I was literally just moving shit around to see if I can just get it to work. But
so
um
your account ID is not that doesn't look correct. I'll have to look at the I'll have to look at the API docs really quick, so bear with me 1 second. Let me pull those up. Um,
Yeah, and no worries. I just thought you might have had insight, like as to like what does it look for? Where do you get the account ID? Does it have to be from a sub account? Does it have to be from an agency account? Like I just didn't know how to
so
configure
it's
it,
gonna
and
come
it
from
got
it's
confusing
gonna
because then
come
I
from
went
a
to
sub
highlight
account.
mode. Okay, okay,
So
and
it's
I
gonna
think I
come
did
from a
that.
sub account, and you
Okay.
have to use there's some very specific man, GHL changed their freaking landing page again, documentation landing page.
Hmm.
Such a pain in the behind. Get started with API, social planner. So you want to do create post, but in order to create post, you have to get your, let me share my screen really quick.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I can spend time on it tonight. I just wanted to know, like, first, it wasn't even capable to do what I'm trying to envision, and if it is, then like, what's the right configuration? That's where I was getting stuck. So.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. And so inside of here, you have create post, which is the function you're trying to use, right?
I never even
And
seen that. Hold on, Mark. So I have to go to marketplace that go high level. I never even
yeah,
accessed that yet.
the stoplight docs are deprecated. They're no longer maintained. So you got to go to marketplace.gohighlevel.com into the documentation tab at the top.
Okay.
And when you go into the
Okay.
documentation tab, you have to get started with API. And
Okay.
then down here on the left-hand side, you have your social planner. So you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need your accounts. So you're going to have to request, you only have to really run this API call once.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to request your list of accounts. And
Okay.
this is going to give you a list of your accounts that will, like, it'll, when you put in your location ID and your version, it'll give you a list of the accounts and the groups.
Mm-hmm.
And the account ID is going to look almost exactly like this.
Okay.
Um, and then it'll tell you the platform. So let me show you I should have one that I can show you, and I can
Yeah,
just
that's the
send you
big piece
this.
I was missing. And see, like, I don't know, even the NAN, like using Manus was telling me to do that, and I did the get function and I got an ID, but I never even set up this in the marketplace. So like, I guess I need to study those docs and paste that into Manus to help me get the configuration right.
So this is essentially what the scenario that you're going to need to run looks like. So this is
Okay.
for blog categories, authors from the blog, and your social media accounts. And I can send you this JSON, um, so that you have it. You basically just configure your authentication in each one of
That
the
would be
green
awesome.
nodes, and then it will spit out an
Hmm.
HTML file at the end that you just download and open. And
Okay.
that gives you all of the information you need. So
Okay.
let me copy this.
That would be incredible. I spent about eight
And
hours trying. And like I said, I'm learning NAN a little bit more in detail and just trying not to pull my hair out. But I think ultimately, like the whole content engine thing, to get all social posted and even to generate blogs and newsletters is kind of what I was envisioning from one input source. And so I'm glad to know it's capable using Go High
yeah, it's
Level.
totally doable. Let me download this. And I don't know if I can drop this in the Zoom chat.
You want me to message you on Facebook? Would that be easier? Or send you my email?
Just message me on Facebook really quick,
Okay.
and I will drop this to you. Do, 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 do,
Okay.
do. Oh, I can drop it in the community. That's also a really good point. I think I can put a file in the community. Make comment with an attachment. See if it supports that attachment type. And let me make sure that I don't accidentally expose any API keys in here. Nope. It's good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna comment this in the community. And I just tagged you in the comment. Just download that, good suggestion, Kara. Just download that end-to-end scenario. So it's gonna look like this when you it's gonna look like this when you import it. And what you're gonna do is you have to set the locate all the green blocks, you have to set some value of. You can either use private integrations tokens, and just a heads up for housekeeping purposes, never put your API key, your bearer keys, in one of these open fields because they're not encrypted. So what you should do instead is do a generic credential type and do bearer auth,
Okay.
and then create a new credential,
Mhm.
and you put
Okay.
in your PIT token right here. And then that'll
Got it.
encrypt
Got
the
it. That's
credentials
how
in
I've
your
done my other
database.
ones, but for some reason I couldn't figure out how to do it for this, but no, that makes sense. I'll do that next time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. All
Awesome. Well,
right.
super
Welcome.
helpful. Yeah. And this is, I mean, the image part of it, from my experience, like you can't automate content to that point. Like that's just too impossible in my opinion. Like
Oh,
for it to
bet.
actually get different sizes and different formats and check, like, so I figured if I can at least just get the generated like inputs of what I can use Canva for, then, it'll just make my
Have you
process a
ever
little
heard
easier.
of Replicate?
I've heard of it. I never used it.
Oh my goodness, I'm about to blow your mind. If you think that you can't
Okay.
automate,
I heard you talk about it, but
if you think you can't automate social images, if you go to Replicate, and Replicate has an API and an MCP, so it's an
okay.
API first based multimodal, like it has all kinds of models. Like it can do VO3, it can do Flux 2, it can do
Wow.
GPT images. Like it runs all of the models that you can think of. Um, and you can see based on like which ones get upvoted and all that stuff. I prefer Nano Banana Pro. Um, but there's tons of other, like, and they give you how many runs they've had, so you can see like uh what like are the popular ones and what it's like what's trending and stuff like that. Um Inside of Replicate also you can uh using the API and also the which it'll give you the code you need for the API, so you can literally just copy the HTTP request from your form and swap out the values, but you can do things like, oh, they increase the number of
Oh,
sizes.
that's cool. Okay,
You
yeah.
can change your sizes. You can
Mhm.
change your resolution, the output format. It has a reduction in filtering, which is super valuable. Um, like you can get away with um, a lot more like loose prompts than you can on actual Nano Banana Pro, and there's no watermark. So you could do like, let me go into, here's one. Put this car going fast in a cartoon style on a road with uh tire smoke from peeling out and tread marks behind it. The image should be cartoonized and include all of the details, including the window decals. Now you can have an AI write this prompt. So the trick is to chain the AIs together.
Mhm.
And you can have an AI write the prompt. And then once you do that and you select your formats and everything else, like if you come over here, here's exactly what you'd copy and paste into the curl import for whatchamacallit, N8N. And then you just run this image. Sometimes it'll fail, sometimes it won't. So you just have to have a checker on whether or not it fails. And I can show you how that like part of the scenario works in N8N at some point as well. But like if you go into my automated content engine and you go down here into the replicate thumbnail creator, it has a check for whether or not, like, it has to get the status from replicate, and then once the status succeeds, it will pipe it into the YouTube thumbnail. So I use it predominantly for like YouTube thumbnail generation. But
This is awesome. I didn't realize this could even be done. I just thought AI wasn't there yet, or at least I didn't use the right tools. That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
so this
Game
isn't, I'm
changer.
actually going to download this one and use it for our website. But yeah, this is an example of like what you can do with platforms like Replicate. They're super, super, super powerful. And you can also run private models, so you can train your own actual like image models, and you can do all sorts of fun stuff. A lot of people swear there's another one I can't remember what it's called that a lot of people swear by that's an API supposed to be an API first uh model user, but they keep like lying to people. So Replicate's owned by Cloudflare, so I trust it a lot more than I do the other services, and it's super stable. But like I use this for YouTube shorts and for creating like stories because um you can use like VO 3.1. So uh with VO 3.1 you can do things like add reference images. So I would add that image that I just downloaded, and I would say, make this a video of the cartoon car peeling out and going down the street. And it'll even generate audio and everything like that. So there's with Replicate and N8N combined, the workflow that you can create is virtually limitless.
Yeah, well, this opened up my eyes for sure. And I mean, are you, whenever this happens in your innate inflow, are you getting it to upload straight to your Go High Level media library?
Yeah.
And then, okay. And then you do the posting and stuff from there, from
Yep.
per YouTube channel. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's good to know it's possible. I mean, I tried to look at some groups for Go High Level and couldn't find anyone really talking about it. So I'm like, I don't even know if it can be done. But yeah, this is awesome. So once I build out the rest of my flow, I think this will definitely help.
Cool.
Um, awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the
No
help. I'll let you know
problem.
how it goes on the next office hours. Everybody
Yeah,
gets
for
done.
sure.
Cool.
Welcome everyone. Hey Frank, hey Jason, Jonathan, Andre, how's everyone doing today? So this is open office hours. So anyone who has any questions about high level, APIs, AI, N8N, it is free open season. Just raise your hand and I will happily answer your questions. Go ahead, Andre.
Hey Mario, man, I just wanted to get the link to purchase that content engine from you. I meant to
Cool.
ask you a while back, and I know we had chatted
I was
over
gonna ask
Messenger.
for that too, but I'm not gonna ask for his work. I don't mind doing the work because you're helping us, but you literally got a
Yeah, I
massive
will. I'll get that.
engine.
Shoot me a message on Facebook because I have to retool the
Gotcha.
content engine a little bit
Okay.
to be compliant with N8N 2.0.
Ah,
N8N 2.0 made some interesting decisions. So I got to get it retooled, but I'll have it done hopefully this week. And I'll happily get that over to you.
no rush, man.
That
I
would be
appreciate
cool
it.
too, Maria. I'll message you as well, just because I still want to learn to build it, so it's good for me to go through the steps. But if you can send it over to me, let
Yeah,
me know
absolutely.
your
It'll
pace.
it'll save you a lot of time. It's
Yeah.
about probably 40 hours of development that I put into that scenario cumulatively. Because I too struggled with all the same things that you guys are running into, where high levels API is inconsistent and you have to request a bunch of stuff that they don't automatically give you, and there's no place to find it outside of the API. And it's like it's just such like that first the scenario I just posted in the Legendary Academy community for being able to just get the social account IDs and the blog post authors and blog post ID is like that for me was like a game changer. But what are you working on, Andre? How you been?
That's sick, man. Good, good, good. It's working on a couple of database reactivations right now. Some voice AI products for some clients, and some attorneys and whatnot. And yeah, just living the dream, man. Trying to make it happen on as many fronts as possible.
Hey man, I know the feeling. I've been working on training in AI. I'm actually actively doing it right now. It's running. It's at about 27%. Training in AI on all of my past conversation histories. So basically helping the AI to understand my tonality, my linguistics, like every facet of how I communicate.
Mhm.
And instead of doing just a year segment, I'm doing all 20 years of history that I could pull. So I'm curious to see what it comes out with, because it'll
Yeah,
be
this
like
is amazing.
talking to like 18-year-old Mario versus talking to like now Mario are very different things.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically just running it as a test, but it took me like, man, it took me like a week to get it figured out how I could actually like get in there and like get it to start training.
Yeah.
That was a whole endeavor in and of itself, but it's been really fun to learn about supervised fine tuning and LoRa's and QLoRa's and like all the other like really under the hood of AI technology.
Yeah. Wow.
Uh, but
Wow.
and it'll probably cost me, I think, let's see, it's like $2 an hour, and I think it's going to be
Mm.
training for like 20 hours, so it'll cost me like 40 bucks. But that's 40
Got you.
bucks per result, and
Oh.
like per what's the word? Training session. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of, basically equating it to baking a turkey. And it's like you bake the turkey on Thanksgiving and you do everything in your power to baste the turkey and to make sure the turkey is like, gonna come out perfect, and it still comes out dry as heck. Like that's exactly like what I'm afraid of, is I'm gonna train this model and I'll have, and the difference is like one parameter inside of out of like 100 different variables that you can set for training parameters. The difference
Mm.
between a 0 and a 1 or a 5 and a 10 in your training parameters can like wildly throw off your AI training. And so I'm like, man, it's 40 bucks to bake this turkey, and I only get a limited amount of turkey bakes before I run out of like justifiable funds. But
Ooh.
but yeah, I'm pretty excited. I actually found there's this company called Pod runpod.io. If you want to get into like machine learning and use like cloud hosted graphics cards and stuff like that,
Oh, nice.
they have a really amazing ecosystem. I was using a platform called Paperspace, which is made by DigitalOcean, and
Mm.
it's the only product made by DigitalOcean that I absolutely just dislike.
Well,
So RunPod is like way better. But anyways, what's up,
oh,
Frank? Saw you join the call. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I'm just actually checking on A2P registrations to go through.
Oof,
I
they're a
loved all
nightmare.
those slides that you had the other day. I would love to review them again because they definitely gave a clear understanding on how to think with AI, specifically the last ones, even.
Yeah,
Um,
let me upload those to my presentations. I should have a presentations folder somewhere. New folder, presentations. And I will make those shareable right now.
right.
Um, File upload. Introduction to MCPs, bad AI prompts versus good AI prompts. And let me make that shareable. So what have your biggest takeaways been so far on the coaching calls?
For me,
Yeah.
um, it for me right now, I feel like it's 1996. In 1996, I went to Full Sail in Orlando, and that was like my whole break into the whole media world. And like this just feels like starting over with that, but from all of this, because then I was learning director and interactive um, CD-ROM and website development and everything like that. So the way that you're explaining AI and how to talk to it and that whole process is what I want to utilize Lovable. And this weekend I will be. I've had all I'm doing around the clock for the last month and a half is getting all of my systems built and set up for my clients currently. Um, I did try to use Lovable to rebuild my one client's site, but I don't think it's the right tool for it. Um, just based on the outcomes of it, I felt like the Go High Level Builder turned out to be better just because I'm literally making exactly the same look as the pages I have in the menu that I just printed for them. Um, and so I'm still sitting there trying to be able to write to Lovable to do it exactly how I want to do it, which is why I wanted those slides, because I felt like the way that you're explaining how to talk and think with AI is definitely key.
Yeah, absolutely. I am posting those in. I wish you could pin posts. Oh, you can pin posts. Haha. In replays, let me pin this post. Presentations from replays will be posted here.
My offering website for my software, I want to use Lovable. My restaurant site, the truth is, I actually liked building this inside of the high level builder because I just felt like it was more organized than most of the even WordPress tools and stuff I'd used before. But it was probably because I was just getting such a distinct look. But I'm saying this to you because I don't know if like maybe you're to say like, yeah, that probably would make more sense for that, or no, I still think you should probably pull it off in Lovable, because what's going to happen is when I am done with this and I load it, I'm still going to try to rebuild it in Lovable and just see how that plays out.
So a lot of, give me 1 second. I have another call for some reason it allowed me to book. So what I would say is that when you're vibe coding in Lovable, what you need to understand is more along the lines of how to get fidelity with what you're constructing in high level, right? Because if what you it's not a matter of Lovable being better or worse than building in high level so much as it is um the features you can put in Lovable, especially for dynamic content, things like adding, specials list and
The calendar is
how,
what I want.
right. And so the calendar embed, you can put in, like, are you talking about a calendar of like specials or a calendar for booking?
I want every business that I deal with that's not necessarily the service based, because they can use the appointment booking calendar, but like restaurants and event based businesses, hot dog stands, food trucks, things like that, those types of event things, margarita stands, which I have a long history with that stuff, and where they're going to post where they are or what their specials are, or that there's live music playing, or that they can log in and they can just update whatever it is that's going on in their world, because that to me is more sticky for them. But most often in the old days, people that wouldn't utilize that stuff would throw a calendar on like a page deep in their website and just leave it there. I just want to put it front and center on the front page of these businesses to get them to interact and actually put their stuff on.
Yeah, so that functionality you would want to probably use Lovable for. Otherwise, the client's going to have to go in and update it on a regular basis in high level, because high level doesn't have the dynamic capabilities to display like an array of content, like rolling content on the pages. So you either have to use an external widget, which for that you might as well use
I'm trying to find it. Like that, what you just said is what I want. I want them to log in and I want them to load in their lunch special or music or where their event is. I want to make that process normal to them so that they're also loading in contacts and other things. I don't want them to not think about logging in. I want them to log in.
Well, what I'm saying is like where I find it more effective is when the client, like, you connect Lovable into high level, and you would connect the contacts, because it's not realistic that most of these businesses are going to enter their contacts manually into high level. You can use high level to drive automations as the agency owner on behalf of the client. But most of these people, the hot dog vendors, the restaurants, like they're not typically equipped or have the time, and it often is detrimental to the it's often detrimental to like your sticky factor if they do have to log into high level to do things, um because it's so cumbersome and overwhelming if you're not familiar with the technology. So what I found as a happy medium and a hybrid is I build out in Lovable like a light version of a CMS or that's specifically tailor fit to their business. So I build out, like, for example, I did this fitness company. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. And I will show you what I mean.
It's not to fight
Um,
it, but just from my perspective of it, which is it's I'm putting like back end store there for them to have shirts and merch and stuff like that. And just only the ability to do a couple of these things um, so that they're just more engaged in their business. The people that are at the events, I'm very aware of who they are, but when they talk about like, how do we get into this event? How do we get into that? How do we do this? It's like, well, stay connected with your community.
yeah, I'm
You
not
know?
disagreeing with you at all. I'm in fact agreeing with you. There's one key difference is that I connect this into high level. And me as the agency owner, I can log into their sub account and run their automations, and they pay me to do their reactivation campaigns and their SMS sequences and their newsletters and things like that. But there it's not actually built in Lovable. This was built in Cursor, but you can build something similar in Lovable. But essentially, these are all the athletes that have come in since I swapped their site over last week. And they can do things like they can assign a athlete to a trainer. It'll automatically text the trainer. They can change their statuses. This will move their contact cards or their pipeline cards in high level. I call this an application specific interface, similar to like how ASICs are what they use for crypto mining, where they used to use raw GPUs and then they started switching to application specific integrated circuits because the specific design intentionality behind something like this increases their sticky factor. So I'm not saying to remove high level from the equation so much as I'm saying to augment high level with something you build in Lovable like this, where the events calendar is front and center, and they can log in and they can manage their events. So these are workouts that the trainers can log in and add workouts to the system, and they'll automatically post onto the website. They can see their analytics around lead flow, and this is for management, very specifically designed for very specifically designed for what the managers want to see in a quick fashion, which is really hard to do in a high level dashboard. This whole project took me like 3 hours.
So you
So
build like this in Lovable, and then we also pull the forms from Lovable to put on, or from high level to put onto Lovable, and then this is just kind of like a
so
short.
I use the forms. So if I go to nstsports.com, and I click on get your free assessment, this form is a lovable form. And then this form API calls into high level using a private integrations token and a Supabase edge function, which Lovable will build all of this for you. So it's not like it's complicated to do. But you just explain to Lovable that I want to have this form API call into high level. Here's the API documentation for upserting a contact in high level. And here is the private integrations token for Lovable. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And then Lovable will take care of actually pushing this data into high level. So it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but the advantage to doing it this way is high levels code is a little bit slow. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you render external forms, like on a WordPress site, or even you render forms on a high level landing page, or you render the calendar, God forbid, on high levels landing pages, like it takes some time to actually render.
Oh yeah, is there a
Um,
reason you didn't use Cursor for forms since you already had this website built in Cursor? I'm just curious.
Oh, I mean, it's not, sorry, it's not Lovable forms, it's cursor forms. This
Okay.
is, yeah, this is all based, this whole thing was constructed at first a little bit in Lovable, and then I got sick of dealing with a couple nuances and I ported it over to Cursor. But Lovable can do all of this, and this is what I've been doing for like the majority of my sites. So if I go into Lovable and I go into like this one, um this one I think is still connected to GitHub. Yeah, it is. I can go into my admin pages and I can see my leads, testimonials, analytics, all that information, and manage all of the, like I have a new calendar function coming. So like I can log into my calendar events and I can view my calendar. And this is going to be a function that this is essentially what you would build for your restaurants and your hot dog stands and things like that. That would then render on the front end of their website. So they log into this portal, which is much simpler, feels much more boutique. And you won't, this is the other problem, is you're going to get, when you give people access to high level, and you give them access to your white label, they're going to be like, isn't this just high level? Why am I paying you $500 a month when I can go to high level direct for 97?
True.
So having platforms like this where you can see your data, excuse me, where you can see your data, you can set different parameters and really tailor fitting the back end of this application and website to the specific business and then pushing that data into high level. That's, in my opinion, the best route to go.
So I still don't have GitHub, or I don't, is it just to store this stuff?
So are you familiar with the Svalbard Seed Vault, the concept?
No.
The Svalbard Seed Vault is, I think, in Iceland. Um, and it is a world bipartisan entity that or all partisan entity that stores genetic data from all seeds and animals and humans and all sorts of other things, right? It's like if the world gets clobbered by an asteroid, as long as the Svalbard Seed Vault and one of the other annex seed vaults survive and they're diversified across the globe, then we can repopulate and repatriate the world, right? GitHub is essentially that for code. So the code lives in GitHub, but it doesn't run from GitHub. It either runs from Lovable or it runs from Vercel. Either one is totally fine. The code lives in storage in GitHub as raw, non-executable code. And what I mean by that is, like, if I go into my GitHub and I go into, let's just do legend. This is my Legends of High Level, which I shouldn't have any NV file in there, but this is my Legends of High Level production code base. And if I click on one of these, like let's look at just index.html, right? This is raw code that I can edit this and make tweaks to it, but I can't run it from GitHub. So GitHub stores the code for you, and then it pulls the code into the server or the whatever application you're deploying from, whether it's Lovable or Vercel, will pull the code from GitHub into the server when you make changes to it. And then it will allow you to publish and display that code publicly. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, I'm just opening Lovable right now.
The
So
other thing is GitHub is immutable, meaning you can't delete stuff. Like it's always versioned. So like I can go back and look at my history on this file, and I can see all of the changes that have been made to that file. And I can actually roll back my changes to specific what are called commit instances. And commit instances are when you save, when you hit the save button in Lovable, or Lovable makes a change that commits to your code base. But then if you need to revert to a historical version of that file, you can really easily go in and find that information. There's a bunch more like intricacies and complexities that you can get into with GitHub, but the short version is it's a very secure, very safe place. GitHub never goes down. If GitHub goes down, like the world is crashing.
see, as junior as this is, like I'm trying to just bring up the website that I did make in Lovable. And this is the part, I mean, when do we go to Vercel?
So typically you go to Vercel when you want to deploy your application into production, and you want to use, if you want to use an external Supabase integration. The reason why I use external Supabase integrations versus Lovable's native cloud integration, and there's an option in Lovable when you create a project, when you create a project and you go to connect the cloud, there's a little secret option at the bottom that says connect to an existing Supabase project. And the reason I do it that way is so that I can use it in Vercel, and also because Lovable's cloud Supabase instances are one, uh, they pause themselves, meaning that if the database isn't used enough, then it will like suspend the database, which is kind of a pain in the behind. And two, it is more, I think it's more costly to use Lovable's implementation of Supabase than it is to use your own like $10 project on Supabase or Supabase free account. I pay per project $10. So per like thing that stores information that uses Supabase, I pay $10 for each. And the reason, and I charge that back to the client times 10 typically. But the reason I do that is because Supabase also comes with what are called edge functions, which are serverless application functions that natively can action things with APIs and stuff like that. So, and Lovable's, if you, whether you use Lovable's cloud or you connect your own standalone Supabase project, which is not hard, it will create all of the edge functions and tables identically the same. The difference is if you use your own, you control and own that data, whereas the other one's in Lovable's parent account. I'm not a fan of people holding the keys to important stuff, if that makes sense. So to a little bit more succinctly answer your question, I use Vercel and external Supabase for any production level stuff that I want more control over. The other thing is if you build an app in Lovable and you want to scale up your database, that is more expensive paid through Lovable versus scaling the database. You have more control over the database and other functions associated with it if you own the database yourself.
Is it easy to migrate? So if you started on Lovable Cloud with a Supabase that's unlovable, can you migrate it into your own Supabase after the fact?
Yes, you have some very specific things you need to do. And in Lovable, you have to go into your cloud settings for that project and click connect to an existing Supabase project. And then when it does that, you have to tell it to rerun all the migrations. And the only thing you'll lose is any existing data that's stored in the database. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But at that point, it's kind of like if you build an export function of your leads table anyways, it's not that hard to export the data and move it. And I think Lovable even can move some of that data using migration files if you just tell it to. Just tell it before you connect the external Supabase to create migration files to populate the existing data in the new Supabase. And this is the thing, like when you're working with AI as a whole, whether it's N8N, raw OpenAI, Lovable, Bolt, Cursor, any number of these tools. And this goes back to my original point about Frank saying that he liked things in the way that the landing pages and websites turned out in high level better than what he could achieve in Lovable. It comes back to articulation of what your goals are and your vision is, and then pinpointing changes to make in the system more appropriately, or more articulating those changes more definitively and precisely than you do by saying, I just don't like this, right?
Can I show you?
Yeah, please. Does that answer your question, Jonathan?
It does. And so like on to the point you were just making, my thought was even going, hey, I'm gonna go into ChatGPT, tell it that I plan on doing that, ask ChatGPT to create the prompt in Lovable to do all those things for me. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, use the chat mode in Lovable more than
Sure.
you use GPT.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
So
this
just
website.
same idea, but just use chat mode in Lovable. Say, hey, here's what I'm planning on doing. Help me get everything set up.
Yes,
Help me set up migration. Yeah.
because chat mode in Lovable, what it will do is it will allow, and you can also upload screenshots. So this is one other
Mhm.
important note, Frank, is that when you are looking at the menus or you're looking at the websites side by side, you can actually upload screenshots into Lovable and say, like, tweak it to look like this. But then think of like you're building a sandcastle or molding clay. Like you have to chip away at the or carve away at the various areas strategically in order to achieve a final result. It may be There may be some things you can do faster in high level because you're comfortable with it, but once you learn how to articulate it in Lovable, you can absolutely get a better, in my opinion, a better quality output. Um,
It just skipped, and I mean, I get like I have to talk to it in more of a specific way. This is WordPress, which I don't want to be in here at all.
yeah,
This is me just rebuilding this process, which honestly, I have 3 restaurants that I have like the same process for their menus. And I felt like, well, if I just get one of these done, I can just, well, that probably won't be a good page. I can just keep duplicating these pages and it, it, it does, what I need it to do. Um, And which again, because I'm handing the customers this, I physically have this printed out, and then this is just one of my review flip books. But when I get into Lovable, I wrote it enough to grab pictures and do these things, but now I'm looking at it like I, I got to just sit and keep writing and keep talking and be like, no, like, there's no prices, like there's none of the things that I need it to be in there.
Yeah. Yes. To answer your question, yes.
Am I fixing it or am I starting over?
You're fixing it.
Okay.
And one of the things that you need to be cognizant of and utilize more heavily than the visual edits component is click that chat bubble in the bottom right corner and then say all of the prices are missing. Make a plan.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's fine. You can leave it. It'll do it. It'll ask you some questions next.
And is this
So
you could just keep typing along though, or was that some other type of deal?
cursor you can keep typing. Lovable's one shot return. But one of the things that this will do is allow you see what it's doing in creating a plan. This will save you a lot of credits and also simplify things because you can disagree with the plan. So scroll down a little bit. And you can, so it's saying add schema markup, add updates, add prices, update the various pages. Here are my implementation steps. Here are the various items I need to update. And you can absolutely disagree with it and say you also need to add specific pricing for things that are missing.
Just
You
realized
can,
what I missed. I had prices on the. I had to go live with the print inside the restaurant, so I just deleted the prices out of the WordPress site because they were too different, unfortunately. And now that's why I realized it doesn't know where to get the prices from.
So you can say one of the things you can also always say is add a placeholder for the prices. At all prices are $10. And then you can do you can easily then use the visual editor to select each element and change the price of each element. Then
So,
we will change later.
do we need commas or dashes or anything amongst different
Nah,
statements?
not really. If you can understand it, chances are the AI can understand it. Yep, now it comes up with a plan and you implement the plan. And this goes back to my original vibe coding training that I did on launch day for Legendary Academy, where it's chat, plan, execute in all AIs that you work with. It's always chat, plan, execute. Because if you just converse with the AI, it will hallucinate and start making changes without forethought into what it's going to be doing. And that is oftentimes expensive and detrimental. It incurs technical debt, design debt, all sorts of stuff, because you end up spinning your wheels without knowing. And you can also say, ask me questions, right? So if the AI doesn't know something, or the AI doesn't know something, you can type in statements, and then you can you can type in statements, and then you can have it ask you questions about things it doesn't know, and then it'll come up with questions almost every single time.
I think I did this in ChatGPT before I came here. I didn't just write this in here.
Yeah, so what I typically do is ChatGPT write an optimized prompt for Lovable, and then I still start in chat mode. So like, let me switch to sharing my screen, and I'll spin up a new project really quick. And let's run through this. And thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate all of you coming to my TED Talk. So let's go into Lovable and go back to the dashboard and see how my chat is pre-highlighted. I always start in chat mode. So I'll go into GPT. And what's their current website?
mitchellscoco.com. Yeah.
So I'll say, I want you to create an optimized prompt for Lovable that encompasses the aesthetics of this website and clearly defines that we are recreating the website for this company and Lovable. It will use an external Supabase integration, and we are going to add a calendar function of specials that will have a light CMS on the back end for the restaurant to manage their specials. Now, you could do this one of two ways. You can drop this directly in Lovable. This prompt is sufficient to drop directly in Lovable, or you can use ChatGPT. So now I want that in Markdown on a canvas to copy and paste into Lovable. Oop.
I wrote things like pixel for pixel to use the pictures because I own them. I photograph them.
You can tell it to, you can download the pictures and upload them yourself. That is often easier than telling it to import the pictures. Lovable does not like importing pictures.
Uniquely, it actually, the first time it didn't, this time it did. Like they're pretty much all in there and they were all good. The high level AI wasn't even in field goal range at all. They were 10% maybe.
Yeah, so what I would do now is I would say at the end of this, what questions do you have in chat mode?
I also said that visually.
Hey Jesse, hey Ray, we'll be wrapping up here in a couple minutes, but you guys can hang if you don't mind hanging tight just for a couple more minutes.
Yeah, it's fine. No worries, guys.
All good. Thanks, mate. No worries.
So I always tell it to ask me questions. So here's where like you can use the original website. Start with static content, CMS from day one, categories hard-coded, items editable via CSS or CMS, CMS from day one, already have Supabase, use placeholders, or I would say copy from existing website if that's working for you. Review those changes, hit submit, and then it may ask you a couple more questions here and there, but that's the general workflow to get started. And it'll come up with a comprehensive plan to implement it'll come up with a comprehensive plan to implement. So like I'll do simple email and password and show all prices, submit. And then I'll share that website URL.
I'll just ask a quick question on pricing Lovable, Mario, for someone who's only used it once and hope to use it more in future.
Sure.
Yeah, just how does the pricing work? I'm on their website and it's like, so every time you put a chat in, that's some sort of credit usage, is that right? Any sort of chat?
Yes.
Okay. And
It's not that expensive in the
no, I
macro.
know they seem to somehow vary it based on the complexity of what you're asking it to do.
That is correct, because the more tokens that you eat up on the AI side, the more they charge you in credits.
Yeah, okay. Nice. Thank you. Bit of a new question, but I've only used it once, so still wrapping my head around it.
But yeah, so it'll come up with a plan now, and like it's got the signature red. You know, it's basically scraping the site and including all of the details. It'll include a phased out plan. And you just hit implement the plan. And that's pretty much it. So and I'll share this with you, Frank, so you can actually see what the output looks like compared to what you built originally.
Cool.
This is the step right here. You don't click allow. What you do is so this is specifically for connecting external Supabase. This little area down here is what you click.
Okay.
And then you hit continue, and you would create a project in Supabase. So I'd call this Mitchell's Coco. So you need to be signed into your Supabase account, and then create a new project, generate a password, create a new project. I understand. And then you wait. And you have to wait for this to stop saying setting up project and say project ready or something like that. Then you refresh your page in Lovable. And that project, when you click this again, so you go to cloud up here, you click this again, then it will be available for you to connect it into. If you do this from the start, you never have to worry about connecting external Supabase later on in the project. It's so much simpler.
So with all of what you just did, and I'm trying to pay attention, it's the where or not would you have put anything into GitHub? That's still where my disconnect. Now I understand this Supabase Lovable.
So once it builds, once it builds, you can hit connect to GitHub, and then you just hit connect project, select your organization, hit transfer anyway. And this now is in GitHub. This is now synced to GitHub.
So is my mental focus to retrieve from GitHub and
No.
go to Supabase, or is it to go back to Lovable when I go to put it back into high level and somehow web hook it, which I still
you're gonna tell Lovable to API call high level or webhook to high level from Supabase Edge functions. And that's going to be how you create the custom integration between the two. I do have to hop off here, though, out of respect for Jesse and Ray's time.
Understood.
So let's cover this in our next session. I'll probably do more on this tomorrow afternoon on our Friday call, and then we can go from there. Sound good?
Thank you very much.
Cool, guys. All right, Jesse and Ray, I'm going to bounce the meeting really quick so it ends the live stream, and then